Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Ozenan Q&A. If this is your first time joining us, I'm going to be direct verbal channeling a collective of Pleiadian beings that call themselves Ozenan. The name is for our benefit because we like names as humans. Um, and the way that this is going to work today is first, I will take all of us through a breathing exercise together. I recommend that you take the time to do this breathing exercise before you listen to the rest of the recording. It will help tap you into the energy. It will help bring all of our energies together, which makes it easier to bring through messages for everyone who will ever encounter this recording. So we'll do a breathing exercise, just a few minutes, and then I will bring Ozanon through and they will offer an initial transmission. That transmission will be tailored to the energies of every human who will ever encounter that transmission, because space and time are very much a human thing and they're outside of it. And then they will open the floor for questions, and my facilitator, Frankie, who I'm going to introduce you to, will ask Ozanon some questions that you all submitted, that the public submitted. So that's how this is going to work today. If you are enjoying these videos and appreciating these videos, please like and subscribe. Not only will you get notifications when I put a video up, but also it will help others find these videos. And I think that'll be very supportive for many people at this time. So I would love to introduce my facilitator, Frankie. And Frankie, I'll let you do the honors.
Thank you. So I've been working with Brittany for, I want to say a couple of years now. And the connection was just sort of instant. And why I like being in this space, why I like creating space. There's a saying that where two or more are gathered, um, and I, like it's more powerful. There's some magic about more than one person having the same intention. It's like a sacred space for these amazing things to happen. So ever since Brittany is a powerful channel, regardless whether she's doing on Ozenan work or Reiki, or my experience of her has always been very powerful and empowering. I get some clarity. And once I started working with Ozenan and asking direct questions. I mean, how many of us would love to ask a direct question from our higher selves, or God, or whatever you want to call that divinity that you turn to? This is kind of a beautiful way to get some clarity and some direct answers, and it's very special. And I like being in that space, asking questions, and there's just such a magic there about being reassured that you're human, you are divine, and that there's still magic in the world despite whatever's going on out there. I feel it's very comforting. So that's why I like to do this. I like to run women's circles for that reason, also holding space. I've also do medical intuitive scans, and just working with people, finding that center and learning to rely on their inner knowing is really special to me personally. And the more people can access that, I think it's very comforting at this moment in time to know that you're going to be okay. So that's why I do this.
Thank you. And I also want to add that Frankie is a very gifted facilitator and facilitates women's circles. I will put Frankie's information in the description box below this video so that you can connect with her as well. And as a gifted facilitator, it just makes so much sense to have her here, working directly with Ozanon and asking these questions. Okay, so to get started, we're going to go through a breathing exercise. So get comfortable, get in a comfortable position. There'll be 5 to 10 minutes of breathing. And go ahead and close down your eyes. And just know that you can just follow my voice here and very consciously beginning to slow down your breathing. Taking longer and deeper breaths. allowing yourself to relax into this moment, allowing your muscles to just release a little tension, become a little more relaxed. And again, slowing down your breathing, taking longer and deeper breaths at a pace that feels good for you. Allowing yourself to sink in to the surface that you're sitting or laying on. And feeling that surface rising up to hold and support your body. And again, allowing your muscles to relax just a little bit more, letting your jaw hang comfortably, letting your forehead and eyebrows relax. And as you inhale, noticing the sensation of air moving into your lungs and realizing how much air there is in this reality and on this planet, realizing the abundance of this resource of air that is always right there wherever we are, so much so that we don't often even think about breathing it in. And as you breathe in that oxygen-rich air, and that oxygen moves into your bloodstream and through your body, remembering for a moment how truly dense with resources this planet Earth is. Remembering that any illusions of scarcity in resources on this planet have been created in order to direct a story. And now on the exhale, noticing the release of air that no longer serves back into the environment. And remembering that this act of letting go of this carbon dioxide rich air is built in to the cyclical nature of reality. And as you release this carbon dioxide into the environment, other living beings will take it in as a vital resource. And just taking a moment here to remember our place as part of the earth. Remember that we, as a collective, have all the tools available to us that will allow us to return to the abundance that this earth truly is for every one of us. And as we breathe here, remembering that we are in a time of restructuring, and this restructuring eventually will lead to us tapping back into the abundance of our home planet, the earth, which is also our body in many ways. And as you breathe here, begin to imagine that the earth itself is sitting in the center of your chest. Imagine the planet sitting right at the center of your chest where your heart is. And imagine this planet gently rotating right in the center of your chest, connected inextricably with your heart. Breathing here at a pace and a depth that feels good for you. And now beginning to imagine that there is a cord of light growing out of the bottom of this earth in the center of your chest. And this cord of light makes its way down, down into the surface below you, down, down into the soil beneath your home, down, 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 deeper and deeper and deeper. This cord of light goes until finally it makes its way so deep, 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 deep down that it makes its way to the center of the planet. And at the center of the earth, there is an enormous anatomical human heart. And this heart is pumping blood. This blood is pouring from the heart into a pool of blood beneath it. This is the heart blood energy of our planet Earth. And your cord of light very gently wraps itself around this heart, giving the heart of the earth a little hug. And in response, the heart of the earth begins to fill your rope of light with this heart blood. And this blood makes its way up the cord, up, up, through the earth, up through the soil beneath you, up, through the building, up, through the surface below you, and finally beginning to enter your own heart, right at your heart center, where you visualized that gently rotating earth. And this heart blood of planet Earth begins to fill your body. Breathe deeply here for a few moments. And now beginning to imagine that there is a star sitting right above the top of your head. However you see this is perfect for you. And this star sitting right above the top of your head begins to gently rotate faster and faster and faster. And as it does, a beautiful white beam of light shoots down from the heavens above, connecting with this star and pouring through this star into the top of your head, beginning to fill your body with white universal light. And breathe here, allowing this white universal light to mix and mingle with the heart blood of the earth that is already within you. Breathing here a few moments, allowing any sensations, any visions, any experience here is perfect for you. And when you're ready, taking one last deep breath, knowing that you are grounded to the earth and deeply connected to the universe at this time. And when you're ready, going ahead and opening your eyes back up. Okay. Welcome back. So I'm going to go ahead and drink some water and bring Ozenan through for an initial transmission for everyone. Mm. And I'd also like to point out that that breathing exercise that we just did was channeled. It's always channeled every time. So that was very specific to this meeting today and this transmission today. Mm. Okay. Yes, we are here and we are pleased to communicate with you all in this way. We would like to point out that this will be our final transmission with all of you for some time. We will be in communication with the channel Brittany, and we have advised the channel Brittany to disconnect for some time from the public. Mm. And so she will be doing so. We will return at some point to communicate with all of you further. And so, with this upcoming break in mind, we would like to offer an important message for you all today. We would like to point out that it is past time for all of you to begin accepting yourselves more deeply. It is past time for all of you to begin letting go of your perfectionist programming. And what we mean by this is the programming that tells you that you should not make mistakes, that you must always try to be perfect, that you must shame yourself for mistakes, for perceived flaws. And we say perceived because flaws are not something that divinity recognizes. There is no such thing as a flaw in our eyes or in the eyes of divinity. Flaws are a human creation that hold all of you in a form of enslavement, in a form of chains. When you begin to recognize that what you have perceived as a flaw is actually simply a part of your human nature in this moment, and it is beautiful and it is okay. When you begin to recognize this, you will step into your wholeness. And ironically, you will be able to expand and many times often shift these traits that you have perceived as a flaw. We would like to also point out that reality is in a massive acceleration at this moment. We know that every one of you receiving this transmission are aware of that. And honestly, there is not a human on the planet at this time who does not sense that acceleration energy, although many humans do not have language to describe what they are experiencing. Reality is in great acceleration, and what we would like to point out is that this acceleration is going to continue. It is going to continue to put pressure on every human until every human decides to turn inward, to connect deeply with their own peace, their own anchor in this reality. And what we mean by this is that you are being called to connect deeply with yourself, with your authenticity, with your truth. We would like to bring up something that we have not mentioned for some time, but that we have discussed in previous transmissions, and that is the idea that reality is much like a puzzle, and every single one of you in the human collective are a unique and necessary piece of this puzzle. And so, as each of you leans in to your authentic self, all of it, including your darkness, including your perceived flaws. As you lean into yourself fully, you become the puzzle piece that you are here to be, and you help to bring reality and the human collective and the earth herself back into balance. And so we deeply encourage each of you at this time to begin to lean in to your unique piece of the puzzle. It is time for you to hold yourself before others. And we understand that for some of you, there is resistance to this statement. There are certain exceptions to this statement, we will say. For instance, if you are a caretaker for a very young and helpless human, there will be times when that human's survival must be put ahead of your own comfort. However, it is still necessary, even for those in that position, to be taking time for their own comfort when it is possible. It is essential for the vast majority of you to begin to put yourselves first, to begin to self advocate ruthlessly. And when we speak of self advocation, we do not speak of trampling on others or engaging in behavior that harms others. What we are referring to is advocating for what you need in order to be whole. Now, one caveat to what we have just said is that there will at times be decisions and choices and actions that you will take that will be perceived by others in a way that makes them in a way that causes them discomfort or pain. In these cases, it is important to remember that all of you humans are bumping up against each other, and that as you sort out your authenticity and your wholeness, you will at times offend or cause emotional harm to another human being. The energy behind this is what truly matters. If the energy behind this causing of harm is with the intention to cause harm, that is not supportive for you or the other human, of course. However, if you cause emotional harm due to holding your own self, keeping your own self whole, in these cases, you must understand that the other human will work through that harm that was caused. The other human is being given an opportunity with that harm to understand themselves more deeply. And you will need to forgive yourself for causing that harm and continue on course with the honoring of your authenticity and your wholeness. We are speaking about boundaries here, but we are not speaking about boundaries that force others to behave in some other way. This is a misunderstanding of boundaries. We are speaking about keeping yourself whole, holding yourself as the most important being in your existence, because you are. It is your personal universe, your personal timeline that you are experiencing. And so we would like to remind each of you to find your center, to find your authenticity, to say no, and understand that yes, that no may not be received well by another human. And if that no is keeping you whole, then it is necessary and it is a powerful opportunity for you to learn to self advocate. We would also like to point out that reality will continue to accelerate and apply pressure until a majority of humans in the human collective begin to function in this way and understand this. You are coming into a new era. You are coming into a time when power will be distributed horizontally across the human collective, not always completely equally, because things are just not that neat and tidy in 3D reality, but it will be distributed much more evenly. The top down hierarchical systems that have dominated human life for some time are crumbling, are falling apart. And it will be up to each of you to advocate for yourself, to be in your center, to be your whole unique piece of the human puzzle. As each of you begins to step into this powerful role for yourself, the collective will get closer and closer to this majority of humans. And when the collective reaches this majority of humans behaving in this way, that is when the acceleration of reality will begin to slow and you will begin to restructure reality. This is coming quickly. We would also like to add that you are very much in the throes of this change now. And we know that it feels uncomfortable much of the time. This is by design. And so we are offering you a way to find comfort in this chaos for yourself. Again, self advocate. And now we will pause this transmission and allow for questions.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I'll start with this question from someone. Is society collapsing? How can we prepare ourselves if so?
Hmm. This is a complicated question, and we will answer in a few different ways. First, is society collapsing? Some societies, yes. And we would say that there is a form of collapse occurring across the entire human collective. We have spoken to this a bit in our initial transmission. We would also like to point out that the word collapse implies massive destruction for many of you. We understand that the word collapse feels very scary for many of you. And so we would like to instead use the word restructuring. And it is true often when restructuring is occurring that some parts of a system must collapse. So, yes, there is some collapse occurring. And the wonderful thing is that the human collective has chosen a path in which, as other structures collapse, new structures are being built that will rise up and support humanity as this systemic collapse occurs. Now, you are likely not hearing about these new systems and new communities and new ways of being that are being built and rising. And the truth is, many of the humans who are actually building these communities are not fully aware that they are building the new systems that will rise as the old systems collapse. And so this is happening very much on a subconscious level. Not always, there are humans who are aware of what they are doing, but on a subconscious level, this is happening in small communities all over the world at this time. And so, yes, parts of society are collapsing, are restructuring, and it will not be the doom and gloom scenario that you have been programmed to believe will occur. In fact, we would like to point out that humanity is a social and collective species, and that it is hardwired into humanity to want to form community when things get difficult. It is hardwired into humanity to help each other in disaster. You will notice in the many recent natural disasters on your planet that you can always find helpers, that communities have come together and supported each other in unprecedented ways. This is the way of humanity. We would also like to point out that the vast majority of humanity is the vast majority of humanity is interested in connecting and communicating with love. They are interested in helping their fellow man and woman. They are interested in helping their fellow human, we should say. Most of humanity wishes to be in connection and love, whether they consciously realize it or not. And most of humanity will behave in courageous and loving ways as society restructures. Now, as far as how you can prepare yourself, we would encourage you to go back to our initial transmission and listen once more. That would be our number one piece of advice, leaning into your wholeness and your authenticity. On a more practical note, we would encourage you to begin to become very ruthless. And yes, we will use the word ruthless in your human relationships and connections. This is the time to begin letting go of the relationships that are not energetically aligned for you and to begin bringing in, allowing in, connecting with the humans that are energetically aligned with you. Because this is the time when communities are beginning to form that will become essential in the coming years. And so, how can you tell if a relationship is energetically aligned for you? We would encourage you to consider how you feel after interacting with a specific human. Does this human make you feel exhausted? Do you feel contracted? And we would like to correct our language here a bit. The other human is not making you feel anything. Do you feel contracted and drained after spending time with a certain human? This does not mean that that human is bad or wrong or that there is anything flawed about that human. It simply means that this human is incompatible with your energy at this time. And it is important that you honor that and make space from that particular human, that particular relationship. For some of you, it will be entire groups of humans that you are moving away from. And we would like to remind you that as you make space in your life, the universe will bring in energetic matches. So as you let go of these relationships that do not serve you and are not aligned with your energy, the universe will introduce you to new humans, to new relationships that will feel much more aligned. An aligned relationship will feel expansive. You will feel energized after spending time with that person, or at the very least, you will feel the same as you felt going into the interaction. It is when you feel drained, contracted, upset, perhaps self critical. These are all signs after spending time with a human. These are all signs that that human is not energetically aligned with you at this time. Mm, we are open for further questions.
Um, I just want to point out that you're saying at this time. It doesn't mean you're cutting off people forever, right?
Yes, we thank you for this clarification. Yes, we do not mean that you will necessarily be making space from this person forever, or even that you are cutting this person out. It may just be that you spend much less time with this particular person in this particular relationship for now. There will be instances where you make space and that space gets wider and wider, and you and that human do not ever return to each other. However, in many cases, you will make space, and later on, perhaps months or years down the line, you and this human will reconnect and realize that now you are an energetic match. So, yes, at this time is very important. Thank you.
Next question. Um, I'm looking, I'm looking for direction in my soul path and business. Is there a direction that Ozenan would point me in?
Hmm. We appreciate this question. We would encourage you to trust what is coming through for you at this time. We are aware that you are mm, quite receptive. The human asking this question is quite receptive, quite intuitive, and you are receiving much guidance all the time. And you are often aware of this guidance. We would encourage you to trust it even more deeply and radically than ever before, because for you, this guidance that you receive and trusting and receiving that guidance is an enormous part of your particular authentic puzzle piece in this reality. We would also encourage you to consider the possibility that there are new and different ways that you can connect with other humans that you have not yet even considered. Mm, One way that you may lean into this and receive these possibilities is to take some time completely disconnected from the internet, from social media, from the artificial ways that humans connect. And what we mean by artificial is not lesser than, we simply mean that these are man made ways that humans are connecting over great distances. When you disconnect from the internet, from your social media, from all of your media for perhaps several days or even a week at a time, you will find that you more easily tap into the natural means of communicating with the human collective, which is through your psychic telepathic gifts. And we would like to point out that every human has the ability to tap into the collective consciousness. Now, in the case of the human asking this question specifically, we would encourage you, once again, to disconnect from the internet, to disconnect from media for periods of time and be quite strict with yourself about this and allow yourself to receive from the collective consciousness, to connect with the collective consciousness. You will find that you are even able to communicate with other humans at quite long distances when you have disconnected from artificial connection and tapped into the natural connection you have to the human collective. We are complete and we will move to the next question.
Okay. Um, okay, a question from another participant. I feel like I've lived this life as myself more than once. Is that possible?
Yes. Ooh. We appreciate this question very much. It is no coincidence that this question is coming up at this time. And of course, there is no such thing as coincidence, however much humans like to believe that there is. This question is very significant in this moment. Much of the fear that humans have around death has to do with the loss of their mm, individual self. And this makes sense because humans are very attached to their individual self. The beauty of this question is that we can share with you the truth that when you exit this reality and you die, you pass into the non physical, you will still very much be yourself as you are now. And you will gently open up to all the rest of the information that there is in the non physical, bit by bit, not all at once, so that you are not overwhelmed. And as you open back up to all of this truth and knowledge that does reside within you now, but that is difficult to access when in a human body with a human brain. When you open up to all of this, you will, at some point, perhaps, wish to dive into human life again. And when you do this, when you dive into human life again, you may wish to live your same life over again, perhaps with some minor changes. This is an option for you. And many of you, especially those of you who think of yourselves as quote unquote old souls, many of you have lived as this human being, this specific human being, many, many, many times. In fact, the channel Brittany has lived as Brittany many times. We recently shared this with her, and she found it quite incredible. And it also felt deeply true. And so we are happy to share this information with all of you. If you are having a wonderful life, if you are loving this human existence, you will have the option to do it over again. Much like a ride at an amusement park, if you really love it, you can ride it over and over and over. And so we would encourage all of you to keep this in mind as you move through your human existence. Enjoy it, live it fully, and then you may someday, although it is not really outside of time, but that is more complicated than we would like to get into. But you will perhaps choose to live this life again, mm, perhaps slightly differently, perhaps exactly the same. We will continue to another question now.
So I have a question myself about people who are highly sensitive or empathic.
Mm,
It's like, what is our role or our purpose? Because right now it seems like for me personally, I'm feeling a lot of the collective energy, and sometimes it's hard to separate the fear, the anguish, the anxiety that's happening out there. On some level, I understand that I can like heal that part of me that is that the fractal of the collective that I am. But there, it's just, I don't know, it feels so hard right now to separate me from that. Like what's me, what's not me. So like
mm,
what is the purpose that that serves for people with that highly sensitive sort of spongy
mm.
ability or existence? It's like what do we do with that? How do we exist powerfully and how do we move through it effectively? What are we contributing to the earth, to the world by doing that?
This is a wonderful question. And we would like to point out that there are more of you, these highly sensitive individuals or empaths. There are many words that you could use for this, but there are many, many highly sensitive individuals incarnated at this time. And this is, once again, no coincidence. It is because as each of you learns to move through these sensitivities, while honoring yourself completely. And what we mean by this is fully accepting whatever you are feeling, whether you are feeling something that is your own or whether you are feeling something that is of the collective, because of course you are part of the collective. As you learn to, each of you individually, to move through these emotions, to allow these emotions to move through and out, you will be very powerfully allowing and assisting the collective in remembering their actual lack of separation. One of the things that is occurring in the human collective is at this time is that humans are less separate than they have been for many thousands of years. They are more connected, and we do not just mean in your artificial way through your internet. Humans are more telepathically and psychically connected than they have been in many thousands of years. And so at this time, the empaths who are particularly feeling this psychic and telepathic connection to the collective are doing important work because as you feel these emotions that come in from the collective, you are actually healing the collective's fear and sadness. Now, with that said, we also encourage every empath to do what you need to do to keep yourself full and whole. You are allowed to set boundaries for how often you are receiving and experiencing and feeling the collective pain, sadness, and joy and happiness. And so we would encourage you to very actively set boundaries energetically when you are feeling overwhelmed, when you are feeling a little too, we could say, overworked with collective emotion. And now, what we mean by setting boundaries is simply taking action to keep yourself whole. This will be different for different humans. For many of you, it means disconnecting from the never ending flow of information through your technology that is now available to you. For some of you, this will mean focusing on a project, a hobby, some type of action that feels very good and very energizing to your system. For some of you, this will mean going into nature and spending time in quiet if that is available to you. If it is not, we would encourage you to bring some nature into your home, perhaps through plants, perhaps through minerals. Create a space in your home where you are surrounded by nature and where you can create quiet for yourself. For some of you live in very urban areas where it is not easy to go outside and be still in nature. But if you yearn for that and you are not in an area where you can be outside in nature, bring nature into your home as much as possible. We would also encourage all of you to be very careful with where you spend your social energy. This is true for all humans, as we have said in this transmission many times. And for empaths, this is even more true. Pay careful attention to the humans that you are spending your time with, that you are spending your time around, and be ruthless in your boundaries so that you are not taking on too many individual emotions from other individual humans because you are so tapped into the collective. When collective emotions come in, you are built to be able to feel and transmute them. However, when you are too attached or too connected energetically to one specific human and their challenging emotions, you are not built to transmute for one other individual human. And this can deplete you immensely. And so we would encourage you to really deeply pay attention to which humans you may be too connected to emotionally. And we simply mean which humans are you taking on the emotions of? And if there are individual humans whose emotions you are taking on and taking into your system, it is time to find a way to hold boundaries there. Perhaps that means that you make space from that human when necessary. Perhaps it means that you have a conversation with that human and simply share that you do not have the ability to hold space for their challenging emotions and experiences at this time. And you can feel out when you are feeling full enough to perhaps hold a little space for that human. But for some of you, and for many of you listening to this transmission, you have become quite attached to the emotional experience of some of the humans in your lives. And we would encourage you to begin to lighten those cords. And in fact, cord cutting ceremony, for some of you, for who that resonates, will be quite powerful. Remembering that as you cut cords, you are not cutting your love. You are not cutting your connection to another human. You are simply cutting the cord of energetic leaking and energetic transfer between the two of you, which is not necessary for beautiful human connection and love. Does this make sense? Would you like further clarification?
Okay, what role does self-care and like creativity play in uh like a highly sensitive person's ability to um make clear decisions about boundary setting and what practices help uh maintain our like energetic health?
Mm. Creativity is a very soothing and powerful tool. And what we mean by this is that creativity allows you to sink into a flow state. And a flow state is actually a state of deep, deep connection with your non-physical parts, with your higher self, with your oversoul. And so creativity is a beautiful way for humans to tap in to their intuition. And for highly sensitive people, we would say that this is essential. It is essential for you to spend time in a flow state. What we mean by a flow state is when you are doing some activity that you are essentially just channeling. And so, an example of this would be when a writer really hits their stride and writes and writes and writes. Or perhaps you are coloring a beautiful picture in a coloring book and you begin to lose time. You begin to feel outside of time because you are so present in this creative endeavor. This can also come in the form of recording a podcast for some of you. There are many, 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 many different forms of creative endeavor that allow you to sink into this flow state. Preparing food is one for many people. Walking, simply walking without other distraction. And what we mean by this is walking without listening to a podcast, for instance, can help get you into a flow state. And so this flow state is essential medicine for these sensitive humans, for these more empathic humans, and we highly encourage it. Mm, Creativity in general is a natural part of your being as a human. Creativity, mm, it is your birthright. It is your existence, truly. You are all creators. You are all creating your life experience on some level. Now, we wish to be careful when we say this because it is not that you are consciously, with your human mind, creating what you experience. Your oversoul, your higher self, is in conjunction with your human self, creating a life and creating a life experience. And so when you, as a human, can bring yourself into this creative flow state, you nourish yourself deeply. Now, when it comes to self care, we would argue that these creative endeavors are a form of self care. And there are other forms of self care that are very important. Allowing yourself to sleep enough and also allowing yourself to sleep when you need a break from the intensity of your human day. It is okay to take a nap if you feel overwhelmed, confused, mm, perhaps very sad, perhaps very angry. Giving yourself the reset of a sleep, of a nap, is quite powerful. Other ways that you can care for yourself are engaging with the elements that resonate with you. So, for some of you, you resonate deeply with water. Water is a powerful reset. And we would say for most of you listening to this transmission, this will be true. Submerging your body in a bathtub or a pool or a natural water source if possible, or even taking a long and comfortable shower. Any way that you can connect with the water element, if water resonates with you, will be very supportive. Now, any way that you can connect with any of the elements that resonate deeply with you. So perhaps you are someone who resonates deeply with air. We do not hear humans talk about this element as much. It is not as popular. for some reason. But if you are someone who resonates deeply with the element of air, we would encourage you to engage in breathing exercises, breath work. We would also encourage you to be sure that you keep fans or some other way of moving air around you in your home. And sit in front of a fan with your eyes closed. Allow yourself to feel the air around you. Perhaps go somewhere that is quite windy and stand in the wind and allow that air to move over and around you. Now, if you are someone who connects with the earth, this is quite simple. You can walk barefoot outside. You can bring earth into your home in the form of plants and soil. You can connect with minerals. You can connect with salt. You can eat whole foods and feel your connection to the earth in that way. The element of earth is probably the easiest to connect with. And so if you are someone who resonates deeply with that element, do so. The element of fire can be a little tricky. Be cautious, of course, because fire can be quite destructive. And have a candle in a very safe place that you can sit with. Mm, Perhaps, if you're able to, have a campfire somewhere. Perhaps you have a fireplace that you can light. Perhaps you have a space where you can write something out and burn it. These are all activities that will help you to connect with the element of fire if fire feels resonant for you. And so this is, these activities are what we would consider self-care, and they will be unique to each individual based on their particular makeup. Does this make sense? Would you like further clarification on this?
Mm. I really appreciate the idea of sitting in front of a fan. I've always found air in my face, cool air in my face, very comforting. And I have a sense now that I've been soothing that air aspect of myself, however small that is, and
Hmm.
not even realizing it.
Oh, yes, wonderful.
Those are actually all the questions we have at this time. Let me double check.
Okay,
Yeah. So if you have any other collective messages, this
wonderful.
is your.
We would simply like to say that mm, your next year to 2 years on planet Earth is going to feel alternatively intense and challenging, alternating with intense and euphoric. And many of you are already experiencing this. One day you are extremely present. You are incredibly grateful to be alive in a human body. You are enjoying the pleasures of food and water and air and fire and earth. And then the next day, it feels overwhelming to be in a human body. The human collective and its restructuring feels overwhelming. And it may feel like a bit of a yo yo or a roller coaster at this time. This is as it is supposed to be. Nothing is wrong. We wish to say this because we know that many humans are in distress at this time around what is occurring. And although what is occurring is a part of this restructuring of reality, it is still challenging to witness. And we simply would like to remind you that it will not last forever. Much like the difficult phases of your individual lives, this phase in the human collective will not last forever. Yes, there will be painful parts to it, and we encourage you to allow yourself to feel your pain around it. And it will pass, and eventually, this euphoria, despair, roller coaster, yo yo will subside, and you will find yourself more centered. We do not mean to imply that there will never be pain or that there will never be joy. There will be both. However, it will not be this extreme and this intense forever. And each of you are learning to navigate reality on your own authority at this time. That is part of why the world is in such chaos, because each of you are being called to trust yourself, to listen to your own authority, not the authority of some government official, not the authority of a parent, not the authority of a friend or family member or social group or any other authority that is outside of you. You are being called to learn, to trust, and listen to your own authority. And the chaos in your reality is offering you a beautiful lesson in trusting your own authority. Mm. And so finally, we would simply wish to say that we are available to everyone receiving this transmission. You can connect with us directly. Although the channel will be taking a break from these public sharings, we are always available in the non-physical. We are happy to connect with you. Simply ask for us, and we will. We will continue to connect with the channel. And eventually, it is highly likely that we will begin these public transmissions once again. And so, with this, we are complete with love. Oh. Hmm. Whew. I'm hot. Hot, 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 hot. Like sweaty. Ooh, okay. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone who took the time to watch and receive this transmission. Thank you to everyone who's been receiving these transmissions. And I want to speak just briefly to the break I'm taking because they mentioned it multiple times. I am going to be uh, traveling for 9 months beginning in early October, and I will be traveling in a wilderness area, Patagonia in southern South America, where I will not have internet connection, where I will not have access to social media, basically, hardly at all, hardly at all. Um, I won't even have phone reception most of the time, maybe texts, and that's about it. So I'm basically going offline for 6 months for sure, and then I'm going to be spending 3 months in Europe. I'm walking the Camino de Santiago again with some dear friends, and I will be mostly offline for that too. So basically 9 months, and it just occurred to me that 9 months is a very powerful number. So
Mhm.
this is what I've been called to do. I'm trusting my own authority, as Ozenan has repeatedly encouraged me to do. Um, and next summer, a little less than a year from now, I will be probably, most likely, getting back online and picking this work up again with all of you. If you would like to connect with Ozenan, before I leave in early October, I do have limited one-on-one session availability on my calendar. I would encourage you to go check that out and book as quickly as possible because it is limited. I will put the link for that in the description box below here because I will be seeing clients until I leave on a limited basis. Okay, Frankie, thank you so very much for asking these questions and really interesting follow-up questions as well. Um, I so appreciate your facilitation. It has been absolutely amazing, wonderful. It's made this so much easier for me. And I know it's made it a better experience for everyone watching. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be in the space.
Okay, everyone, have a beautiful rest of your year, a beautiful beginning of 2026. Um, yeah, I'll catch you in 2026 again. Sending everyone so much love.